welcome to All Steelers Talk, your home for everything Pittsburgh Steelers, presented by allsteelers.com.
What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbein, joined every Monday and Wednesday by my main man, Steven Thompson. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk and subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. Today, we are going through a brand new Pittsburgh Steelers roster. There are plenty of moves, plenty of exciting rookies to talk about, and some vets that might be on their way out. We're going to dive into everything on top of our starting lineup predictions in 2023. It's been a rainy week here in the Burgh, but honestly, you know, in Pittsburgh, every 4 weeks, it just feels like it rains for 35 days, and then you get a couple of days of sun. So this is just what it is. This is life in the Burgh. It feels good knowing we got some good rookies. I want to know how you are, but first, on top of that, I want to know, have you seen the Joey Porter Jr. hype video from his dad on draft night after he got snubbed from the first round?
Oh, like the pep talk that he gave him?
Yeah.
I did not watch it. I've seen it going around and everyone talking about how great it was, but I have not actually watched it. No.
I would highly recommend watching it. Joey Porter is junior is crying. Mm-hmm. Senior is sitting there just it's personal now. They wanted a pissed off football player. Now they got it. And I was just like, oh, okay, chills. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
This is a crazy, new phenomenon. I feel because, I'm sure Joey Porter was motivated. I'm sure that was disappointing to not go in the first round, but yeah, he sort of did go in the first round still. He was still the 32nd overall pick. And
yeah, true.
This whole, you saw, I think the latest example I can remember is the national championship game. Georgia wins. And then in the post-game interviews, everyone's like, they doubted us so much. Yeah. No one thought we were going to be here. I was like, what are you talking about, man? You've been the favorite ever since you won it last year.
Yeah.
But this aggrieved athlete thing, it works, man. It gets people fired up.
People love it.
You can tell anyone that someone is doubting them and they will believe you.
Yeah. Odell Beckham Jr. during his Ravens opening press conference talked about how, he's been overcoming adversity. People have been sleeping on him his whole life. Bro, you're the 6th pick in the draft. You're an all pro. You just got paid $18 million at 30 years old. That doesn't happen. Nobody's ever.
People believe in you more than they probably should right now.
You haven't played football in a year and you just got signed to one of the biggest wide receiver contracts in the league. Slept on? Maybe not. Maybe,
I don't know.
Maybe not slept on. Maybe overlooked or overvalued would be the right word. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know about that one, but it was good. I would highly recommend going and checking it out. For those of you who have not seen it, definitely go and check it out. It will give Steelers fans chills. Plus, Joey Porter Sr. is Joey Porter Sr. is Joey Porter Sr. That's right. He is he's one of the original hype men, in this league. Mm-hmm. So to do that to his son was pretty awesome. I do want to get into the Steelers draft. First, we were talking about this a little bit before the show, but everybody knows that Steven is unfortunately a Boston fan for some godforsaken reason. Game one.
You can blame my dad.
Yeah, I will actually. That when I meet him, I will. But game one was rough. Boston Celtics, Philadelphia 76ers. We were all watching you kind of let it all out on Twitter there. I was having a good time enjoying it. You got better expectations for game two here?
No, not really. Yeah, no, they didn't play a lick of defense in the first game, and then the Sixers only. Yeah. Though I kind of expect Joel Embiid to play tonight, and I don't know. That doesn't make me any more confident. Just put the MVP into a lineup that already beat you, just to do it at home too. And then after the game, I see all these Celtics players saying yeah, we didn't take this game very seriously. That is not what you want to hear.
How are you not taking? This is round 2, right? Is this with semifinals?
Yeah, with Embiid out, I sort of get it, but I'm sorry, you just.
Yeah,
Atlanta Hawks just gave you all you could handle in the round before. How are you not taking everyone seriously?
This is the playoffs. I've never watched a playoff as tight as this one either. I don't understand what we're doing. I mean, hopefully game 2 is better. I don't know where Pittsburgh Steelers fans fall in the realm of they hate Philadelphia, but they hate Boston. So it's got to be a rough. If anything, I think
they hate basketball too. So
and they hate basketball. It's just this is not a good. It's not a good week for Pittsburgh Steelers fans when it comes to the Eastern Conference semifinals. Who are the other two teams playing?
The Knicks and the Heat. It's
Oh, I could
interesting.
go Knicks and Heat. I could
Yeah,
root for
no,
one
I
of those.
mean, I think the Knicks are fun. I hate the Heat with my entire heart, but, like, it's funny just the people I know who are from Pittsburgh who watch basketball, like, it's an interesting mix of, like, some just go for Philly because it's, like, it's in-state, but then there were other people you can tell they, like, came up during those LeBron, Miami Heat years,
Yep.
picked up the Heat. Other people just picked up the Warriors. Like, it's interesting. A lot of Knicks too. Like,
A
it's
lot
just
of Knicks, a lot of Cavs fans around here. I will say I've met a lot of Cavs fans. I grew up on the LeBron James train. Like my dad raised me. LeBron James is the greatest basketball player of all time, and it is embedded in my brain stronger than anything. You know, like
Mhm.
I believe that stronger than I believe in like literally anything on this planet. I will argue LeBron James is the greatest basketball player of all time, and I don't even watch basketball anymore, but I just know. So I feel the same way. When he left for the Lakers, it was tough for me. Like I couldn't. It's really hard to make that transition because like
Mhm.
just nobody likes the Lakers. You know, nobody
Yeah,
liked the Lakers for a long time. So
yeah.
it's rough. Hopefully, game two is better. I guess I don't know where to root for. I don't know where my alliance stands. I'll help you out a little bit. You know, put some good juju out there, but I guess
I mean, it was
LeBron. We're
a
hoping for LeBron.
it was entertaining at least game 1, you know? Was
Yeah,
kinda hell for me. I didn't really expect it to be close, but hey, I mean, if you're a neutral fan, that game was exciting.
yeah. It's been a great NBA playoffs. Meanwhile, the Pittsburgh Steelers are chilling here. Before we get into the roster again, one more little piece of news that I did not prep anybody on. Did you see what's happening with Antonio Brown and his Arena Football League team?
I did a little
Yeah.
bit. I haven't
You-
gone fully in depth into it, but
I don't know what's fully in depth at this point. You know what I mean? Like
right,
the
like
head
how
coach
much?
quit. They posted on Instagram looking for a brand new quarterback, wide receiver, running back, offensive lineman, and a defensive lineman. Their pay has officially stopped, I guess. And half of their team, or at least all the stars, it feels like, are under investigation for a harassment misdemeanor, I guess, that occurred in a hotel afterwards. And from what I got from the story is the way that everybody found out they were suspended was just they showed up at the hotel and like five guys didn't get keys to a room. So they were just like, oh, I'm no longer on the team. They don't have a quarterback currently. They don't have their MVP, who was the league MVP and already scored 10 touchdowns in 3 games this season.
Jesus.
Yeah. Antonio Brown's killing it, man. Killing
Yeah.
it.
He is really killing it. I would love to say I was surprised,
No,
but
no, no.
no, this is kind of the least
Yeah.
surprising thing in the world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Antonio Brown not playing his employees is just like a trend, you know, like it just takes a little bit. Like you have to remember that, like in the midst of all this, he's also, I don't know if he still currently does, but he had 2 weeks ago a warrant out for his arrest for not paying child support. We've been through the Antonio Brown not paying chefs and painters and physical therapists and all these people, the entire Antonio Brown saga. So it's not even like, oh man, like I doubt that he bought a team and stopped paying people. Like,
Right.
you know, that just fits the bill.
Right. There's too much history to indicate otherwise.
Yeah, yeah. So shut up. You know, hopefully the guys get their pay and hopefully everybody leaves that team because you know it's just gonna get worse from there. You know, I thought getting kicked off the field was like the max of the Antonio Brown Arena Football League drama. I thought we were just, you know, picking out a little bit, trying to make a headline out of nothing.
No,
Nope,
we were
here it
just
is.
scratching the
Yeah,
surface
yeah,
of
yeah. Like it just he was gonna do it anyways. So we could have just held off on that and
yeah.
not had to make a big deal out of nothing. All right, let's talk Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's get into it. We'll break down the entire roster. We'll start with the rookies, we'll move to the veterans, and then we'll end it with predicting the starting lineup in 2023. I want to start with your shocking names, your shocking I guess they could be anybody. It doesn't necessarily have to be a rookie, but it could be anybody that signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Do you have a guy or a couple of guys that you look at and say, I think he's a sleeper and I think he's gonna, you know, surprise a couple of people and actually make this 53-man roster at the end of the summer?
I do. I have a couple actually. And my first is I want to preface this by saying I am fascinated by punters this offseason now. I think when I go to training camp, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to walk over and I'm going to watch the punters.
You missed the you were like right after the Presley Harvin Jordan Berry summer where they competed all summer, like Presley Harvin's rookie year. That
Yeah.
was the most exhilarating training camp battle I've ever been a part of. Like, so you
Yeah.
should be fully embracing the punter competition. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Well, because like I don't know, just feel like there's a lot of pressure. These guys like almost never actually kick against live like competition or anything. You don't actually see you're you kind of have to guess a little bit. You're focusing on like mechanics and stuff, but either way, I'm looking at Adam Korsak. I believe I can't remember if
Rookie
he's
tryout.
rookie tryout. No, he didn't get signed. But punter from Rutgers, Ray Guy Award winner, which is the best punter in college football. Averaged 44 yards per kick. 40% of his kicks went inside the 20. Another 40% were caught for touchbacks. Like, this guy can really boot it. I think people become kind of disillusioned with Presley Harvin. I know Brandon Mann was brought in too, so there'll be a three-way battle at punter. And I don't know, I'm intrigued by, I don't know, the new punt god, I guess, the new, like, because this guy also, he started, I think, all 4 years at Rutgers, and he
Yeah.
was immediately one of the best punters in the country in college. So I'm fascinated by this guy. I really, not rooting for him, but I'm interested to see how he pushes them, and just I'm fascinated by the punter battle. It's not the most important position battle out there, but I think it's gonna be interesting.
Hey, in the words of Pat Narduzzi, the most difficult play in football is the
Most
punt.
important.
Most important play in football is the punt. The word, quote unquote, from the
It's
head
the
coach of the
only
Pitt Panthers.
only play where you play both offense and defense on the same play.
It's the most important play in football. There it is.
Right.
I agree. I think Korzak's a name that people should expect to make the roster at this point. I think Presley Harvin's going to have the upper hand going into the summer. They're not looking at him as, oh, we're getting rid of Presley Harvin, but they're definitely looking for a competition. This is going to be the third year of Harvin's rookie deal. He's got this year and next year. If you could go young while you can. I don't necessarily think Braden Mann is like a real part of this competition anymore after you bring in Korzak, just because like if you're gonna replace Harvin, you're gonna replace him with somebody who's here for cheap and for the next 4 years. And Adam allows you to do that. What I like about him, and I'm also very worried about it at the same time, is that Australian run up to the line before you punt it style. I think it's super cool. And if it works, awesome. I'm not necessarily convinced that it's going to work in the NFL, like at least long term. Like, how long can you get away with it before Bill Belichick or John Harbaugh figures out how to block that punt every single time? But for right now, I mean, it works. Like, the guy, he had the most punting yards in NCAA history, which I thought was extremely impressive. He's like you said, the Ray Guy Award winner. Everybody's going to point out for the next 6 months that Presley Harvin was also the Ray Guy Award winner coming out of college. And he was that, like, could throw touchdown passes, giant punter. Everybody was super excited about him. So it's a little tarnished in Pittsburgh, unfortunately. But I agree. I think that that's a name to watch. I think that punter competition is definitely real. It's going to be so exciting. You'll get guys, wait till we get to training camp, and you'll get some people who like religiously show up just to tweet the distance and the hang time of these punts. And obviously everything's unofficial, but there is nothing like a punting competition. Nothing like the kicking competition. Cool, whatever. Maybe there's one between Boswell and Potter, who's coming in here out of Clemson. No, the punting competition is going to be real. They're going to spend a lot of time doing it, which is awesome. You never watch special teams, but it's going to be worth it.
Yeah, I was going to say, usually special teams is like the part of practice where you can kind of chat with people. Yeah, you take some time off, you chat with people, you go eat something, whatever. But no. We're going to be locked in on special teams. Danny Smith will have my full attention for all of training camp.
Danny Smith's going to be a rock star during training camp. I'm so excited for good old Danny Smith chilling, after talking about these guys after practice. 100%. All right, who else you got there?
So this is I think this is just a rookie invite guy. But James sorry, I'm going to butcher his name. Nawayam.
Yeah.
Naiwa.
Yeah, no. I know who you're saying. I don't know how to say it.
Defensive lineman from Merrimack College. I love his size, 6'5", 305 pounds. Just a position of need at nose tackle. Like, they need some depth there. I think his size alone is going to earn him a little bit of leeway, even if he's still kind of a raw product and needs to come along a little bit. Making that leap from, I believe, the FCS to all the way up to the NFL, that's difficult for anyone. But I just think that he's going to get plenty of opportunities to play and see the field a little bit and get some good reps. And I'm just excited to see what he can do at that size and how he can kind of help this team plug up the middle a little bit, especially because, run defense, and it felt like they kind of got pushed around at certain times last year. So they'll be open to solutions along the defensive line, especially in the interior.
Yeah, I think that's a good name to watch. It'd be really cool to watch an FCS guy. I believe that's where Merrimack plays. Make the team, like you said, big guy, plugs up the middle, able to play defensive end, defensive tackle, and nose tackle, which I really like. The Steelers are going to look for options there. Could be a guy to compete with a guy like Montrevious Adams or Braden Fajoko or Armand Watts, who none of them I think are guaranteed to make the roster at this point. I'm going to stick along the same lines here, and I'm going to go David Perrells. If I'm saying that last name right, I never know. We talked about him on Monday. The dude's walking out of college in 33 games, 38 tackles for loss, and 23 sacks, plus an interception. Like, you can't have a better stat line than that as an undrafted free agent. He's an edge rusher. I think the Steelers are still looking for a fourth edge rusher, even if it's Nick Herbig as the third. And I get that everybody wants to talk about, Herbig should play off-ball linebacker. The Steelers look at him as a defensive or as an edge rusher. They're going to utilize him as an edge rusher, at least to start his career. So I think Herbig's got a chance to be that third guy. And then Perrells has a chance to beat out Quincy Roche as that fourth guy, maybe play some special teams. But dude, if you're playing 33 games in college football and you're getting over a tackle for loss per game, that is beyond impressive to me. Like you're doing something right. Fellas, have you ever wished you were a little bit taller? Maybe you matched on Tinder, but her profile says must be over 6 feet. Maybe your date wants to wear heels, but she can't because it'll make her taller than you. Well, I got the short kings covered with today's sponsors, Kunzuri. Kunzuri makes shoes that make you up to 2.8 inches taller without anyone knowing. Look, girls get heels, makeup, and push-up bras. Why can't men get a boost in confidence too? We're all the same height laying down, if you know what I mean. For a limited time only, our listeners get an extra 15% off your order with our code ALLSTEELERS at Kunzuri.com. The site is already 30% off, and with our code, you get an extra 15%. That's 45% off your entire order. Support our show and check them out at CONZURI.com and use our code ALLSTEELERS. I'm going to wait. I waited until right now to make this grand opening box reveal. Good old Kunzuri's double boxed. I think that's what I love the most about this is double boxed. Flip it over. Oh, it's got that new shoe smell. You know what I'm saying? A little drip on the outside, a little drip on the inside. I'm a fan. I'm a big fan. Not only do Kunzuri shoes make you up to 2.8 inches taller, but they're also incredibly stylish and comfortable. These are not old men Velcro shoes. You'd get compliments on your Kunzuris even if they didn't make you taller. They have styles for every occasion too. Smart, casual, sporty, you name it. The height insoles are actually built into the shoe so no one could tell you're getting a secret height boost. The brand is also hidden on the shoes and the packaging, and it's really the ultimate height hack. Life's short, but you don't have to be. It's time to level up your playing field, boys. Maybe update your dating profile to 6 feet. Kunzuri is an absolute game changer when it comes to your dating life. On top of the 30% off the site, our listeners get an extra exclusive 15% off discount at Kunzuri.com with our code ALLSTEELERS. That's a total of 5% on your order. Use our code ALLSTEELERS at Kunzuri.com. Go to CONZURI.com with our code ALLSTEELERS. When I want to get high, I put on a pair of Kunzuris.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, the production is like too much to ignore.
Yeah.
This guy it seemed like he was almost playing. He was a senior playing JV or something like that.
Yeah, it was exactly. The third guy that I have is like a big sleeper that I think possibly, and this is a big possibly, but I'm going to toss him out there because the Steelers like their, they like to let that one guy, again, you missed it. This is the summer before you showed up. Matthew Sexton, Cheddar Bob, aka Cheddar Bob. Nearly, if it wasn't for a muffed punt in the final preseason game, this guy was making the roster. Like there was no questions about it. He was a stud all offseason. Mike Tomlin loved him. And then he goes into that final game. He muffed a punt and he was never heard from again, unfortunately. That's how close these lines are drawn. I think Jordan Byrd's going to be along that same lines, a return specialist. I don't think the Steelers are all in on giving it just to Calvin Austin or Gunnar Olszewski. I think they're going to look for the best option available. I think if Jordan Byrd could come in here and prove like, hey man, I'm a return man. Like Steven Sims made the roster as a return man last season after week 3, I believe. Jordan Byrd could do that same thing. I think this is a much farther, prediction or whatever. But
Yeah.
right now, I'm going to add him to the list as well.
Yeah, I like that. They didn't draft any wide receivers. There'll be a chance for some. I think I saw someone say they did not pick up a wide receiver. They picked up a lot of returners. A lot of
Yes.
rookie returners. So they're clearly looking for a solution at special teams with Steven Sims gone. So I like that one a lot. I think that's a good pick.
Yeah. And we'll see what happens. Next, I want to get into the rookie class as a whole. We'll go through every one of them, see what ones make the roster. I think everybody on that was drafted always has a bit of an upper hand, but the Steelers are a little different than I think most teams. Like I was watching the New Heights podcast yesterday with Jason Kelsey and Travis Kelsey, and Jason Kelsey was talking about it, and he's a 6th round pick, how those later guys still have an upper hand because GMs kind of look at them and say, okay, well, I'm going to be evaluated on whether or not this guy makes the roster. I don't necessarily think Omar Khan cares at all. Like, I think he's going to look at it and just be like, look it. If he sucks, get rid of him. Do not care. I'm trying to win a Super Bowl. That's how you get judged here in Pittsburgh. So I don't necessarily say that everybody's a guarantee to make the team. That being said, it's a pretty impressive draft class, so it's hard to ignore. We'll start with the big 2, and these are the big 4, I guess. Can we just acknowledge that the first maybe 5 guys, Broderick Jones, Joey Porter Jr., Keanu Benton, Darnell Washington, and Nick Herbig are all like locks, guaranteed to make the team.
That was exactly the 5 that I had that I said locks.
Locks. No questions there. They will all have a spot. It's really a determination of whether or not they're going to start or not. And I think, honestly, all of them except for Herbig has a really good shot. Darnell Washington will be the 2, but essentially a starter.
Yeah, he'll play starter snaps mostly. Like he'll share that role with Pat Freiermuth, I have to imagine.
They'll like keep like a third wide receiver or something like off the announcement list that first home game so that they could announce this giant 6'7" man running onto the field. No doubt. All right. The later round picks, the 2 7-rounders, Corey Trice Jr. and Spencer Anderson. We'll start with Corey Trice. Do you see him 6'3", 210 pounds coming off? He's got a lot of injuries, 2 ankle surgeries and an ACL injury. Do you look at him as a player that makes the team, or you think that he's maybe borderline about to get cut because of how deep this cornerback room is?
No, I think he actually has a good shot. I kind of included him. Like I had tiers, we had those locks at the top, and then I had some likelies, and then some guys who were real long shots. And I had Trice in that level of likelies. I think he's got too much talent to ignore. The size is obviously great, and I feel like he only fell because of those injury concerns, which probably wouldn't have drafted him if they were seriously concerned that he wasn't fit to play or wasn't going to be able to play. So I'm in on Corey Trice. I think he's one of those guys that will actually, compete for some playing time, not just kind of make the roster too.
Yeah, I agree. I think Corey Trice pushes names like, Akello to the trade block, competes with the Madri Harpers and the guy that they just signed from the Vikings, Sullivan, Chandon Sullivan. All those like smaller guys that are new to the roster. I think that Trice has an upper hand on. Plus, like you said, if he didn't get hurt, if he didn't have all those medicals, everybody keeps talking about how he's a higher round pick than round 7 to get him in round 7. I mean, Grady Brown said it. That was the first thing he said when he sat down and talked to us after the pick. He was like, I don't really know what's going to happen here, but I can tell you this, we're going to look damn good coming off the bus. And yeah, if you keep a 6'3" guy around just because you're like, well, what if year 2 is different? What if year 3 is that he's 6'3"? Like you got to give him a shot. So yeah, I agree. I think he's very likely to make the roster. What about Spencer Anderson, offensive lineman, played pretty much all 5 positions at Maryland, the last of their picks here.
Yeah, I think that versatility is really going to carry him far. I like Spencer Anderson. He seems like a good athlete. I don't want to say there are very few sure things on the offensive line, but it's kind of outside of those top 5. It doesn't seem like there are any slam dunks, and doesn't seem like anyone's guaranteed to.
Maybe Herbig.
Yeah. Oh, true. Herbig. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, beyond that, like, I don't know. Kendrick Green seems like he's on his way out. There are other people. Like, I don't think there are very few guys outside of Herbig that are a lock beyond those top 5, or maybe, between Broderick Jones and Dan Moore, whoever wins that left tackle job. Spencer Anderson will, I think, make the roster just because they need some depth there. They know that he can play all 5 positions. Like, you're one injury away from something pretty disastrous, and I think Spencer Anderson is a good insurance plan against injuries.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's, like I said, he gives me John the Glue vibes. John. I call him New Glue. That's Spencer Anderson, New Glue.
Trademark that,
yeah, I'm thinking about it. I got to talk to him first. It's like the he big thing. Got him. Don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I think that he's got a good shot to make this roster because I think Kendrick Green's gone. I just don't think there's any value left in him. He doesn't play center, or he doesn't want to play center. He's not good enough to play guard. He's too small. You get rid of him, maybe you trade him for something, but the fact that you weren't active for a single game last season and the guy that was active over you, they decided not to re-sign because they didn't value him enough, does not waver well in your favor. Anderson could come in here if you're getting rid of Kevin Dotson, which I think is the biggest key here for Anderson to make the roster, is if you trade Kevin Dotson, which I expect to happen at some point, then Anderson's that interior swing man, allows you to play center. He could be that inactive guy, which is, fine, but you want that inactive guy who could stay on the roster. And if you need a center at last second, or you need a backup guard at last second, he could be that option for you, and he could slightly develop. And I agree. I don't think anybody else offers that. And the offensive line depth is just not, it's really good right now, but you got to narrow it down. Like, you can't, you only keep 2, maybe 3 backup offensive linemen. Dan Moore will likely be one of them. Raven Clark might be another, but I think chances are he gets cut as well. And then it's Nate Herbig and possibly Spencer Anderson. And I agree. I think his versatility gives him the huge lift there. Moving into the undrafted guys, Tanner Morgan coming in here as the only undrafted free agent to sign with the Steelers. And then obviously Hunter Johnson out of Clemson and Northwestern, a former 5-star recruit, is here for a rookie minicamp. Do you expect, we'll say, either of those quarterbacks to make the roster?
I do. I think I expect one of them to. I think Morgan is the favorite. Look, Hunter Johnson, just like that talent never really panned out. Like, he was the number 1 recruit coming out of high school, but just didn't really work out. Morgan's been really productive in college, ran a pro system. He was a starter for forever. I think Morgan will make the roster. It might be like a Mason situation where he just doesn't dress until he's absolutely needed. But yeah, I like Morgan to make the roster. Do you lean a different way?
Nah, I think Morgan's the favorite right now. It would be cool to see Johnson turn into a little bit of something. I think he's got some upside that just never, grew at Clemson. But I also think the fact that he played behind the people he played behind with never really gave him that opportunity. Morgan, I don't really, I don't look at him as a move the needle guy. Like, if you would ask me if I wanted to pick between him or Mason Rudolph, I'm going to re-sign Mason Rudolph, but Mason Rudolph doesn't want anything to do with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So he's not coming back. I think Morgan's a good one. Just like you said, I don't expect him to dress on Sundays, but I expect him to be that third quarterback. I also don't expect him to be like that long-term backup that I thought they would get in this draft. Like, I don't look at him as that answer. I think they're going to give him an opportunity, but I just, I watched a little bit of Minnesota football over the last 2-3 years, and I'm just, I was never really super impressed with this guy. Like, I think he throws a lot of touchdowns, but he also throws a lot of interceptions, and he's just a stalemate quarterback, in my opinion. Doesn't really move the needle for me, but I think he's got a good shot at making this team the big one. The only one I really care about, if we're being honest. Monty the Mullet Pottenbaum. Potty bomb. Thank you.
Is what I've been going with.
Pottenbaum, I like that a lot. Fullback out of Iowa, probably the best looking, coolest guy in this draft. Does he make the team?
Yeah. There's no Derek Watt. There's no one in front of him. I mean, I guess, if we're following your theory about
Connor Hayward, baby.
Connor Hayward, but Connor Hayward moves around enough that I feel like he's not, you can't stick him at one position and say, well, he's our fullback. I feel like that's not set in stone yet. Pottenbaum is a true full blood fullback. And I don't know. I feel like you need a guy like that. At the very least, he's going to hit someone on special teams, and he's going to bring an edge that I think the coaching staff's really going to like. And if he can catch some passes or open some holes for Najee Harris, that's all gravy on top of it.
I mean, I'm going to disagree, and I don't think he does make the roster, but I sure hope I'm right or I'm wrong and you are right, because I just look at it like you're not going to keep a backup fullback if you do have plans for Connor Hayward. And I do. I fully expect Connor Hayward to. I mean, they don't really utilize a fullback to begin with. So I would love to see them start to. I think it would be awesome. But I think if they could just utilize Connor Hayward once in a while back there, they'll feel comfortable with it. I think the only way Monty the Mullet makes this roster is if he absolutely balls out on special teams. And I would love to see him ball out on special teams. Like, it would make me so happy to see him ball out on special teams. But I think you're running a risk of, taking a roster spot away from somebody who might actually be utilized in this offense a little bit more. I will say this: if it comes down to a name like Gunnar Olszewski, versus Monty the Mullet, I think I'd give the upper hand to Monty. But I don't know. I don't have huge expectations for him. That being said, I look at him as a practice squad guy. I hope he's around forever, forever, never leaves ever, and possibly turns into the next Rosie Nix, Derek Watt. I don't care who he is. Just, I hope
keep him around.
Yeah. You get rid of Zach Gentry after a year. And I love Zach Gentry. I think he's a good dude and a growing football player. Sorry, buddy. You're not rocking unless you grow a mullet and change your name to Monty the Mullet. You just don't have the upper hand here. I'm not going to pick you.
It just doesn't have the juice without the mullet.
There's no juice. There's no juice. Jordan Bird, running back out of San Diego State. I talked about him as a long shot, I think, to make the roster. Do you look at him as a possibility to make this team?
It's a possibility just because the battle for a return guy seems wide open, but I'm not banking on it. I don't see him as likely as some of these other guys. Would be nice, I guess, but I don't know. I figure they're going to kind of have some better options for returning kicks and stuff like that. So I just don't see where he would exactly fit in. And like you said, you can give him a roster spot, or I guess this is the same thing as Potabom, but you don't want to run the risk of, like I said, unless he plays real well on special teams, there's not really a path for him to contribute to this team or make the roster, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree. I look at him as, an option that I think is that third guy to surprise us and make this team as a return man. But I definitely get what you're saying. Like, you have to absolutely ball out this offseason to make this team. And that's difficult to do, but it happens every year. And, maybe it happens again. I don't think he ever plays wide receiver. I think he gets an opportunity to play some running back.
Really?
Excuse me. That's what I mean. Yeah, he wasn't. I think the Steelers messed up in where they listed him. I don't think he was actually a wide receiver. Like last year, they said Jaylen Warren went to I don't know, somewhere he did not go. And, every year it's just like one little mistake. And this year, I think it was just that Jordan Bird plays
a clerical error.
Yeah, a little clerical error that Steelers, they toss a clerical error out there every couple of months. And this time it was this one. But I agree. I think that he's got to just absolutely ball out if he's got any opportunity. David Perales is the other guy that I think he's my top dog to make this roster as an undrafted free agent. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, that guy's got production to burn. Like, he just made plays every time. You worry about he wasn't playing in the SEC or anything, but I don't know, when you get a tackle for loss per game, like, that's hard to ignore. And
yes,
it's at a position that they need some depth at. Like, I think among those, I think you're exactly right. Among those undrafted guys, he is the most likely probably to make the team. He probably has the best odds of anyone, just given what his position needs, what his position group, like what the depth looks like there. And then obviously he seems like a really good player too. I'm excited to see him actually, at rookie minicamp, it's guys not in pads or anything. So you can only get so much of a look, especially at defensive linemen, but I'm really excited. I hope he's there by training camp. And I just really want to see him, actually start putting on pads and hitting someone.
100%. Would love to see this guy just come off the edge, backs on backers. Yeah, very much so excited about all that. Your boy, James, I'm not even going to try to say his last name. You believe that he's a shot? I think yes and no. I think he's on that line. Anybody on the defensive line, I think, has a real opportunity. I think it's one of the easiest positions to kind of show yourself with, especially in training camp, because you're really much so looking for technique and get off and that kind of stuff. And if he shows that, explosiveness, maybe he's got an opportunity. I don't know how those skills are going to translate to higher talent. Makes me a little bit nervous. I also kind of have, some expectation for a name like Armon Watts. Braden Fajoko, I think, is a little bit more of a long shot. He didn't really do anything until the end of last season, but Armon Watts has starting potential. He's got starting experience. And I think that you bring in Keanu Benton, and maybe the Steelers like what they have there, but at the same time, they don't have like that true blooded defensive end backup. I don't know where DeMarvin Leal is going to play. I think that plays a huge role into who makes this team between Perrells and James here. So I think that wherever he goes, I think the other player has a bigger opportunity to make that team and to make this roster.
Do you mean where he goes, like as far as just whether he's playing defensive end or nose
Yeah,
tackle?
Leal. Like if Leal's playing the
yeah.
outside, I think that James has a higher opportunity over Perrells. And if Leal's playing the inside, I think Perrells has a better opportunity than James.
Yeah.
That's how I do that.
Niam Waya, I think. Niam Waya. I think that's my best guess as to how we'll
I'm the
figure
worst name guy of all time, so I still get called out for saying Mitch Trubisky's name wrong. So
how are you supposed to say it?
I thought it was Mitch Trubisky. I don't know.
I think you're adding a T in there at the end. That's
I am. I don't know how to speak, man. I'm from Scranton, Pennsylvania. We don't talk properly. That's not.
Well, it's also not helpful when we're just getting like names written on a page. We don't hear every guy's name called. So
exactly. We're gonna blame it on that 100%.
No, but I think you're absolutely spot on. Just as far as Leal is kind of a wild card, and a lot of other guys on the defensive line, their status on the roster or their chance of making the team actually hinge on what he does.
Yeah. Let's go to the offensive side of the ball. Last two guys here. Trevor Downing, center out of Iowa State. The offense averaged 369 yards per game last season. Do you think he's got an opportunity to make this team?
I think he absolutely does. I mean, I don't think McCollum is by far in any sense the lock to make the roster. If you, like you said earlier, if you can go cheap and go with a guy that's locked up for 4 years. I think Downing can play. Like I don't think it's a matter of, is this guy capable of being an NFL football player? It's just, does he fit with the Steelers? Does he, does he bring exactly what they need? And are they more comfortable with the guy like Ryan McCollum, who has a little bit more experience? But I think he absolutely has a chance. If you asked me to put a percentage odd on it, it seems I think he's less likely to make the roster than he is to not make the roster. But I think this is a guy who's capable of playing, of contributing or being a backup right away. I don't think it's as long a shot as some of the other guys that we've talked about.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the perfect way to say it. I don't think he's like a super long shot to make this team. Do I expect him to make this team? No. But if he comes in here and shows that he's better than Spencer Anderson, he's definitely got an opportunity. If he comes in here and shows he's better than Kendrick Green, he's got an opportunity. I think it's just a matter of whether or not he's as good as he was in college, or if, he sits with that undrafted free agent tag and plays to that level. That'll determine, his, like you said, his chances of making this team. But I think I start him low. Good practice squad guy, in my opinion. Young,
absolutely
versatile, hefty dude, all Big 12 selection. I think that he's a good name to come in here and kind of just fill a practice squad role for you guys.
Do you know if he plays other positions? Like, I saw he's listed as a center, but
yeah, he's played pretty much everywhere on the offensive line. I think that was another thing, is they're keying in on versatility here, which I think helps a lot with these guys that are just looking to make any practice squad spot available to them. But I think either way, like even if he's just a center coming out of college and he doesn't have a ton of experience everywhere, because I don't know exactly how much, he's going to play everywhere. Like they're going to test him on all three interior positions just to make sure that he could, because you're not keeping a practice squad guy who's strictly one position. It's just not happening. Like there's too many guys out there that you could bring back and say, hey, look, I know you play 4 or 5 or, at least 2 positions on the offensive line. You're more valuable to us than, a guy who's stuck to one.
Mm-hmm.
Last name here, BT Potter, kicker out of Clemson, made 100% of his extra points in college, 75% of his field goals. He's probably got the hardest competition of any single player on this roster to beat out Chris Boswell. Do you think there's any opportunity for this guy?
No, unless something very tragic happens to Chris Boswell. I think we can assume that BT Potter might be a practice squad guy. Like that seems
Could be.
pretty likely, but no, I don't really see him making the roster. I mean, you're not going to keep 2 kickers, right? Like
No,
that's not
no chance. I think, yeah, maybe I don't even know like how the COVID rules are because I remember back, during the COVID year and even the year after, I believe you kept that second special teams player, that second punter, whoever, because worst case scenario, your guy got COVID
Yeah.
the day before, you had to bring somebody up without testing them and having them clear and everything. But I think that's all gone. So I think at this point, I think the best thing for Potter here is to just come in here, see how many kicks he could hit, see how well he could play in the preseason, put some good tape out for all other 31 teams. And then, if the Steelers, it's like Nick Skiba. If the Steelers need a kicker midseason, they're going to call you. They should have stuck with Nick Skiba. Let's make that very clear. They should not have went out and got Matthew Wright, but I think that's Potter kind of falls into that same category of like, put on a little bit in the preseason. Maybe you make the team or another team, and then you make this team later in the year. That's all kickers really looking for. I think it's always crazy when somebody signs in Pittsburgh, but at the same time, I get it. Like that phone call has got to be like, hey, look, man, Chris is not even going to touch a football in training camp. Like,
right. That's what I'm going to say. Like he's gonna get plenty of time to play during the preseason and put some real
all the
tape
time.
out there against like NFL competition. Like that's not invaluable. Like I'm sure that's a really good opportunity for him that he wanted to jump at.
Yeah, I think that if he looked at it and just said, hey, look at like this is the best place to put some tape on film and hopefully somebody else doesn't like their kicker and I got an opportunity, maybe. But a chance in Pittsburgh, I think very, very slim. All right. Next, I want to talk about the veterans. We just talked about the rookies who might make the roster. Let's talk about the vets who might get cut. I got 3 names for you. I don't know who you're thinking. I'll let you go first. Vets that you think are surprise cuts this season that might not make the roster.
Yeah, I don't know how much of a surprise this would be. I mean, it would be a surprise to see him get cut as opposed to traded or something like that. But I think the odds that Kendrick Green is not on the roster by opening day are pretty high.
Yes.
It was clear they brought in a ton of offensive linemen that they're going to try out. Kendrick Green hasn't exactly showed that he can contribute in any sense, really. Like I don't
none.
like. Yeah. He's like a tweener. You don't know what his true position is. So I think Kendrick Green is a prime candidate. Like I said, the punter battle. So Presley Harvin, he's on watch. I think like if they can go cheaper and younger, they absolutely will. And then I think Mondre Harper too. Madre. I think he's a candidate too. Like if Corey Trice ends up working out, again, you're going to go younger and cheaper as opposed to a guy who's been around the league a little bit. And a guy who might have potential as opposed to a guy who you probably already know what you got in him. So those are my big 3. It's all kind of dependent upon what your rookies give you, but those would be kind of the top 3 on my list.
Yeah, I like those too. I got Harvin on my list. I just think that the punter competition is going to be fierce. I think there's an opportunity he wins it. Like I said, I think that he has the upper hand going into the summer. And I think they're going to rock that way. They're not looking to get rid of him, but they want him to have some really good competition. Yeah. I was surprised that they didn't bring in a competition last year. Doesn't mean that he's gone. Jordan Berry went year after year after year after year of beating out competition and staying in Pittsburgh and then having bad seasons. Presley Harvin could possibly do the same thing. But I think that Korzak is a good name to watch. I think he's talented. And, there's a reason that he won the Ray Guy Award last year. Again, his Australian punting style makes me very nervous. But if you could get past that, if the Steelers and Danny Smith either like that or tell him, hey, knock it off, let's punt normally, and it works, then I think he's got an opportunity here. Second, I'm going to go with the cornerback room as well. I think James Pierre's time in Pittsburgh has pretty much come to an end here. I think Ahkello Witherspoon gets moved. I think he's a trade bait at this point, and I think he's worthy of that. But you look at it and you go Patrick Peterson's 1, Joey Porter Jr.'s 2, Levi Wallace's 3, Arthur Millett's probably 4, and then Corey Trice is probably 5. If you keep 6 corners, maybe James Pierre sticks around, but I don't think they're going to keep 6. I think they're just going to keep 5 of those guys out there. And I think that that he's one of the names to get cut there. If he passes through waivers, I think he's a great practice squad addition, but I think somebody might sign him there.
So you think you'll think they'll do both trade Akello and cut Pierre?
Yeah, I think they have too many options right now. Like you'd rather go young with Trice and Akello's $5 million cap hits our salary this season's, it's rough. And you could get rid of that for a guy who's going to be your third corner. Cool. Totally fine. For a guy who's going to be your fifth corner.
Yeah.
No, not really what you're looking for. Arthur Millett's another name to watch too, but I think that depends on where Patrick Peterson plays this season. And I just think that Millett, offers that inside blitzing ability that they kind of want to keep. So I don't think he's on his way out. And then my third guy is Gunnar Olszewski, actually. I think Gunnar is a very valuable run blocker, super valuable run blocker, but I just think that the Steelers are going to load themselves up on wide receivers too much. At this point, it's Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, Calvin Austin, Allen Robinson, Miles Boykin, I expect to make the roster. And then you're really deciding if you're going to keep that sixth wide receiver, but you're also going to keep 4 tight ends, maybe 3 running backs. Like at some point, you're going to run out of space here. I think keeping those 5 wide receivers and getting rid of Gunnar makes a lot of sense. Now, again, if they think that Gunnar is very valuable in the run game, I think he could stay. But if I had to guess which of the wide receivers gets bounced this offseason, I think it's Gunnar. I just don't think he adds much value elsewhere on a roster. I don't think he's going to be given another real opportunity to be the punt returner this season. And I think all 3 of those guys end up, it's a new turn for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think out of all 3 of those, Gunner's the guy that I'm just like, man, I think he holds the most value just as a run blocker, but you got to make moves.
Yeah, that position just seems too deep. And, I like Gunner. I think he's valuable too, but you can only be so valuable in the run, like blocking in the run game as a receiver if you're not doing anything else, if you're not catching passes. And like you said, he could get pushed out of that special teams, like return man rotation pretty quickly.
Yeah, agreed. And I think, maybe like Anthony Miller pushes him out. I don't know. I don't really have high expectations for Anthony Miller, but I just think the competition is fierce and it's there. All right. Last thing I want to talk about before we head out here, I want to go through it. Starting lineup. It's April. I get it. Or it's May. Wow, it's May.
Yeah, it is already May.
And I get that we have a long summer ahead of us, but the first time that we see the Pittsburgh Steelers roster in front of us is right now, and it's a very exciting one. We just went through guys that we expect to get cut. We went through the rookies that we expect to make the team. Let's finish this off with the starting lineup here. We'll start with the offense. Quarterback's an easy one. Kenny, comeback Pickett, number 8, back there behind center. No questions asked. Fullback. You brought up Monty. I'm going to say Connor Hayward. Who are you feeling here?
I'm not really buying the Connor Hayward theory. I'm leaning towards Pottebaum, quite honestly. I guess it could go either way, but I feel like they're going to end up leaning towards Pottebaum.
All right. I'm sticking with the Connor Hayward. I'm excited about how right I'm going to be on the Connor Hayward to everybody who's been telling me wrong for months now. Okay. Running back, Najee Harris. That's another easy one, obviously. Wide receiver, we'll go with the starting 2 is Deontay Johnson and George Pickens will be on the outside. Who you expect to be that first slot receiver?
I think they're going to run with Allen Robinson kind of on opening day. More of a sure thing than Calvin Austin right now. I think they'll bring Austin along slowly. Austin will certainly play. Like it won't be, someone takes 80% of the snaps or whatever. Austin will certainly play. But yeah, I think first play of the first game, it'll be Allen Robinson out there.
Yeah, I agree. I think Allen Robinson's the name to watch, but I think him and Calvin Austin split time pretty evenly, depending on where they are on the field. I think Calvin Austin might actually play more than him, but Robinson's going to get the start. The Steelers are real high on Robinson, and Calvin Austin hasn't played an NFL down, so that's always difficult. Tight end will be Pat Freiermuth. Do you expect Darnell Washington to be the number 2?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the same thing as Robinson and Austin. They won't throw Washington straight into the fire. They'll go with the sure thing in Pat Freiermuth, but again, Washington's going to play. Like he's just going to play. He's going to be, especially in big, obviously run situations. Like he's going to be in there to play blocking tight end. They might go 2 tight ends a lot of the time. Like there's going to be plenty of opportunity for him to play, even if he doesn't start.
Yeah, 12, 13 personnel is going to be huge for the Steelers this season. I agree. I think they both are on the field. I wouldn't say equally, but I think Darnell Washington's on the field a lot for the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, let's break down the offensive line here. Chooks, right tackle. Do we agree on that one?
I think that's
James
fair.
Daniels, right guard, agree on that one. Mason Cole at center, agree on that one.
Yep.
And then left tackle, or left guard, open for competition between Isaac Siamalu, Kevin Dotson, and Nate Herbig. Who do you got walking away the winner there?
I'm going with Siamalu. He's been there. He's done that. This guy is a proven commodity at left guard.
Left guard.
Sorry, I'm bad at directions. But yeah, Siamalu, like, this guy feels like a slam dunk to me. I don't even know how much of a competition it's going to end up being. I think he's going to be so clearly the best option there that we'll know pretty soon who that he's the guy there.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he signed here to be a backup. I don't think the Steelers had conversations with him about being a backup. I think he comes in here as the starter. He is their tank right now on the left side, and maybe Nate Herbig develops into that guy long term. Left tackle, Dan Moore versus Broderick Jones. This is the big one. This is the biggest competition, I think, on the offensive line. Do you think Broderick Jones walks away a winner? Or you think Dan Moore Jr. holds out and starts another year?
There's part of me that wants to say, they don't draft Broderick Jones that high if he's not starting right away. But they're not just going to hand it to him, and
yeah, agreed.
He's obviously got some growing to do before he's a perfect player. So it's not a complete slam dunk, but I'm leaning towards Broderick Jones. I just think the talent and the size and the athleticism is a little bit too much to ignore.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that you drafted Broderick Jones to like bring him along. I think you drafted Broderick Jones, moved up 3 spots to say, this is our franchise left tackle. We're done messing around. Here it is.
Yeah. They wouldn't have moved up too. Like that's the other thing.
Yeah. And I think Dan Moore is a great swing tackle, like a phenomenal, played right tackle in college, was supposed to be the right tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers, or the backup right tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers as a rookie, got pushed to the left side because of Zach Banner's injury. I mean, I think that he's a better swing tackle than LaRaven Clark. And yeah, exactly. Like you're not moving up to go get Broderick Jones and say, all right, Dan Moore is our starting left tackle again. There it is. All right. To the defensive side, we'll go through the secondary first. Minkah Fitzpatrick is obviously starting safety. DeMonte KZ versus Keanu Neal will be another competition to watch. That'll be exciting. Who do you got walking away the winner there?
Got to lean KZ. I think they're going to lean with the guy they know. I do think that's a position where Neal, like, KZ might take 60 or more % of the snaps, but Neal's going to play too, I think, either, in that 3 safety set that they like, or just to give KZ a breather. So I like KZ to be kind of, like I said, day one or week one, first play, it'll be KZ and Minkah out there on the back end.
I agree. I think KZ is going to walk away with it. I don't think it necessarily is anything negative towards Keanu Neal. I think they're, very much so. That's just their third safety. He's coming off of a role piece in Tampa Bay where he played well there. I think they're going to move him around and try to find new spots for Keanu Neal. KZ too. I expect KZ to move around a lot too, but I think the starting safeties will be listed as Minkah Fitzpatrick and DeMonte KZ. The cornerbacks, there's 3 of them that I think are big names to watch, and we don't know what's going to happen here. Levi Wallace, Joey Porter Jr., Patrick Peterson. I mean, who do you got starting here?
I got Porter and Peterson.
Okay.
This just doesn't seem like, I don't think you draft Joey Porter where you draft him if you don't have intentions on him playing a lot and playing right away. Peterson, I think, is the obvious choice. That's a kind of a slam dunk, but Porter versus Wallace will be interesting. I'm banking on the young talent. I think he's, I don't know. I'm of the belief that Porter is ready right away.
Yeah, I am too. I think Porter's the guy. They brought Levi Wallace in to be that dominant third corner last year. I think he played very well as an outside corner, like as the starter. I think Levi Wallace kind of beat my expectations. But I agree. I look at it and say Patrick Peterson is a lock. Joey Porter Jr. did not come in here to be a backup, and he's the most talented member of the group, I believe. And Levi Wallace could come in here and play, I think, more than 50% of the snaps on the outside, while Patrick Peterson moves around to the inside, the outside. The inside, the nickel, you expect that to be Arthur Millette again?
Yeah, I think so. I thought he was perfectly fine at that spot last year. I wasn't. Yeah, I'm fine with Arthur Millette there. I feel very comfortable with that, and I think he'll be a good. Yeah, I think in spots that you need a nickel, he'll be fine there.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to play much coverage. I think they'll bounce Patrick Peterson inside to do that, play tight ends, that kind of stuff. But I think running off the edge on running downs. Arthur Millette will be the name there. He goes 110% every single play. He'll hit you as hard as he possibly can. He's not really great in coverage, but if you could hit somebody, you got a spot in Pittsburgh. So I agree with that one. The linebackers, we'll go inside linebackers first. Cole Holcomb, Landon Roberts, Mark Robinson. Those are the three big ones. Who do you see starting? What's the two combination here?
Well, I think Holcomb, Roberts, and I think we're forgetting a little bit. Like if they run with three linebackers versus, so we're considering out like that Alex Highsmith and T.J. Watt. Those are
edge rushers. Those will be outside linebackers.
So we're looking for two linebackers. Or are we looking for three? Two. Oh yeah, Holcomb and Roberts. Then my bad.
Yeah.
I got confused a little bit. I made a little diagram, and I got screwed up a little bit. But no, Holcomb and Roberts. Like again, those were arguably two of their bigger free agent signings of the offseason. Like I don't think those guys came here to be backups. Mark Robinson, I think, still has a long way to go. I'm not super convinced that he's ready yet for a starting linebacker spot. So yeah, I'm running with Roberts and Holcomb, and until they prove otherwise or show me otherwise, those guys are my starters from week 1 to week 17 and beyond.
Yeah, me too. I think those are the two guys. I think you still got to somehow find like a coverage inside linebacker, but maybe that's Holcomb, maybe that's Keanu Neal. I don't know, but I think those two start. Robinson comes off the bench. They want to see what they got in Robinson. I know that, but I don't know what he's got to offer in year 2 as a 7th round pick. And then the defensive line will start on the outside. Obviously, that's TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith. There's no competition there. Larry Ogunjobi will be the defensive end. Do we imagine that? I would say maybe DeMarvin Leal has a shot in competition.
Yeah, Leal will probably. I think I kind of expect Leal to see a bunch of snaps early in the season, and then as things get tighter, as the games get more important, you kind of just stick with Larry O. But yeah, I think Larry O's your guy. Like if as much as the defensive line rotates, Larry O is going to be the guy playing the bulk of the snaps there.
Yeah, I agree. I think Larry O's the move. DeMarvin's kind of like a tweener, figure out where he goes. That's how you use year 2, and then you move on from there.
They just got to get a position for that guy. Like
they got to
play one position. Just let him learn one position and let him play there and see what you got.
Yeah, because you got to develop your body differently for both of those positions. You can't be bouncing them outside and inside the whole time. It's not going to work. It's definitely not going to work. Cam Hayward will start at defensive tackle.
Yeah,
the big one, nose tackle. Keanu Benton, Armon Watts, Braden Fehoko, Montravius Adams. Who's walking away the winner?
Fehoko seems kind of to be on the outside looking in. I would love to say Benton because I just, I'm really intrigued by the draft class and I love the rookie class that they have. But I'd say Adams and, sorry, I'm already blanking on the other name.
Watts, Armon Watts.
Yeah, those are your two favorites to start there. I kind of have to, like, I don't think either of those guys are really going to separate themselves in a meaningful way. I'm probably going to lean Adams just right now, but yeah, I don't know. That one seems like a toss-up. That seems like one where those guys are going to split snaps. Benton comes in certain spots, but just to see what you got. But I think Adams and Watts are as close as you can get to co-starters, probably.
So I'm going Benton. I think that
really.
I think he's gonna be surprising. I think he's gonna be better than Joey Porter Jr. from the jump.
Okay.
I think he's phenomenal. I think if the draft board fell as the way I saw it, I didn't think the Steelers had an opportunity at him at 49 because I thought he was a much higher pick than that. Possibly saw him going in the first round, like late in the first round. I think he's a stud at the nose tackle. Big body, able to pass rush. I think he like just defines what a Pittsburgh Steelers. Reminds me a lot of like what Javon Hargrave was coming in as a rookie. But probably better than what Javon Hargrave was. I think he'll come in here and they'll look for him to be the starter. He's got to earn that, obviously, but I think they'll give him the first opportunity. With Montravius Adams, I think being the favorite to be like that backup pass rusher, third down kind of guy. And then Watts, I think, is, the best bet to be that backup, that true backup along the defensive line. And I agree. I think Fehoko is unfortunately on the outside looking in unless they keep everybody. But I don't know, with Isaiah Loudermilk sitting there too, might just be a battle of who's left. And I don't think Fehoko is going to get that upper hand there. Good starting lineup for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This will all change in months, but maybe it won't. Maybe we'll come back in the end of July and we'll be sitting here going, wow, this is actually the exact same starting lineup that we believed it was, the exact same players. They're going to make the lineup or make the roster and not make the roster that we thought they were. It's a long summer, but this is the Pittsburgh Steelers roster. It is finally put together for the most part. I'd say it's about 90% put together at this point. That is as exciting as it gets. Football is here. We are 1 week away, a week and a half away from them stepping on the field at rookie minicamp. From there, it's OTAs, minicamp. Then we get the last break, and football is officially back. It's exciting times. With that, we're heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Find us and subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. Check out all of mine and Steven's work at allsteelers.com and insidethepanthers.com. I will be back on Friday with Derek. Enjoy the rest of your week. Peace.